Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, in today's video, we are in the Georgia for what was truly an epic failure and a great video to learn from. I was streaming last night when we got this game, and I thought this was just a good one to put up with the given circumstances is honestly because I make a pretty massive mistake towards the end of this game, which we all can learn from. On top of that, I am driving into a rock here, as initially I wanted to get out here on the flank, as the Georgia does excel with her speed boost and being one of the faster battleships, as well as she only has 6 guns, so you do want to get all of them on target when you have the opportunity to do so. That is when I kind of thought, yeah, these spawns have changed, or I don't remember spawning over here, and I didn't want to get detected early on, especially broadside, so I went ahead and turned into this rock, as we are now detected. So yeah, a smart play to angle out, however, not a smart play to drive into the rock, and that is when we noticed this rune out here. Not a ship played by many, however, you can always tell when someone semi knows what they're doing, as he is angled out. However, we did adjust for him to, turn out. Unfortunately, we get a shatter. What 457mm guns shattered on the rune, I will never know. It could have potentially been that strong belt that the German cruisers do have. Man, I can only anticipate when we get the Hindenburg in the game. But here I decided it was best if we go ahead and turn around. As you can see, there is a good amount of attention on this flank. There's a Richelieu, there's a Rune, and there is a destroyer in the cap, as it is starting, or it had started to turn red. That is when our destroyer, our Fletcher, decided to go in there and smoke up. Why, I don't know, because there is a battleship behind him. Also, when you pop a smoke screen, enemy destroyers, such as the Udachi shows right there, tend to throw torpedoes in them. So just a pro tip for destroyer players as we lead a few of our shots, trying to get any and all damage on that Republic as he kites away. But to finalize that point, if you're a destroyer, don't pop your smoke unnecessarily, and also don't sit in it when you know there is an enemy destroyer lingering on the horizon. I also said this last night, and it's just pieces of information to help you become a better player. The enemy Kagero got death struck, and he is no longer available, and there is, or was, a destroyer spotted at Alpha. However, our team did not ping it, and the destroyer at Charlie was undetected. However, we did see 2 sets of 4, and the friendly battleship there, the AL New Jersey, did take a few of those torps, and he is missing a massive amount of health. And as we predicted correctly on stream, you can go back and watch it if you want, the enemy Udachi was the ship in the Charlie cap. And that is when our Fletcher decides to open up, making a, somewhat of a correct play, trying to gunboat the enemy Udachi. However, he does so without his smoke screen. You can see he is outside of it there as he gets fired upon by a lot of the enemy. But in the meantime, we really don't have too much time to worry about that, because we have a broadside Iowa. At medium to long range, we pop our plane, and there is 50,000 damage gone from that Iowa. If I do have a recommendation to Iowa and New Jersey players, don't sail broadside. I actually got a little bit of hate mail from I think it was a New Jersey, or was it a Missouri? I think it was a Missouri, who I kind of kited away as I was being focused by the carrier, and he's like, "You did nothing impressive, you're a coward, and you ran to the back." Well, don't chase me then, you big silly goose. But regardless, there is that Iowa. He turned in just a little bit, and we got just enough to get him off the board, and that is when we get set on a double fire, and that is when we notice this Rune picking back up his onslaught of DPM. I'm a little disappointed with this shot, as this shot could have potentially changed the entire outcome of the game. I thought this Rune was going to get caught up on the island. Unfortunately, he makes that turn, so a good little maneuver there. We still get 1 penetration, and 1 penetration from the Georgia is still worth a lot more than most other battleships. So anytime you see those kiting cruisers who are, he wasn't necessarily playing it in an agile way, but he was playing it in a way which is beneficial to him at range, where he is able to utilize his strong HE and, take advantage of bad RNG, especially with a ship with only 6 guns. In the meantime, however, we do have an enemy Tirpitz pushing the central cap here at Bravo, and in order to defend a little bit of our team and, not push into a German cruiser, a British battleship, and without really knowing where that Udachi is, I decided to help our team defend B. trying to aim at the superstructure of this Tirpitz. Here's a situation where you could argue that the HE would have been slightly better. However, with how strong the AP is and with how large caliber the Georgia guns are, we decided to stick with the AP because we know that that Tirpitz is most likely going to try and get his torpedoes off. And right on cue, he decides to open up a little bit of an angle. In the meantime, you will notice that we are trying to be farmed here by a rune at 18 plus kilometers. Just pay attention to that, as again, a lot of people are like, oh, CCs don't get recognized. Well, we'll show you something later in the game. That is when we decide to take another superstructure shot at that Tirpitz. He didn't open up as much angle as I would have liked. Our Buffalo gets a beautiful salvo into him. However, our FDG decides to sit there and eat 4 German torpedoes, which is never going to, be a good day. And right on cue, that is when the Yudachi pops up just behind us. You can see him on the minimap there, which is why I kited away in this situation. Down goes our Fletcher, and now we have essentially lost control of this C flank. On top of that, like we mentioned, that Yudachi is still lingering behind there, and he has some very powerful torpedoes. We are also still being farmed by that rune, and in the meantime, we have a beautiful broadside on this Republique. I got trolled a little bit by RNG. I feel like I've just been getting the worst RNG. However, we do take another salvo, but it doesn't really matter as our teammates get a few torpedoes on that Republique and he goes down. So we're definitely ahead in the ships department and the points department. However, in terms of the position department, as this rune once again gives us a good, he wants us, man. You can always tell when someone wants a little taste. That is when we look at the angle of the torpedoes that were headed towards the FDG. And because the cap has yet to started to turn red, I believe that this Yudachi is behind me. You couple that with the fact that we just got detected, and it leads you to believe that this Yudachi went around this rock to try and get behind us. Again, looking at the angles of those torpedoes, as well as judging based off of the ring of our concealment. Now, the cap has started to tick red, but I believe that is the rune who made his way into that cap. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention, because at this point in the game, you're looking and you're like, okay, Aaron, decent game, 100,000 damage, 2 defends, 1 kill, a couple citadels. Why are you showing us this video? Well, unfortunately, looking at the scoreboard, you will not believe the outcome of this game, and I wanted to make this lesson, one, to show you guys the opposite side of streaming, as I got a few comments from a few low IQ viewers who say, YouTubers and streamers only show their best games. Well, no shit, Sherlock. People want to see the interesting, good, high damage, high educational value games. Imagine watching a 40-minute highlight video of a football or soccer match where there was only 1 or 2 goals or touchdowns scored simply because the editor wanted to put in every little single thing. They're called highlight videos for a reason. It's funny when people don't understand how YouTube works. But what I don't understand is how a broadside-ish Temeraire gets away with murder. 1 penetration and 1 bounce there. I don't know how that happened, but it doesn't matter. He was shooting HE, which is why we maintained our broadside angle here. We're also pushing towards the Albemarle, which is kiting away, and also pushing away from that Yudachi, which was behind us. In an ideal world, this Temeraire has more health, I get all of my guns off, and we get the Citadel in this situation. However, I get trolled once again. That looked like it entered directly at the waterline, but again, RNG has not been with me. Does anybody have a goat or anything for sale that we need to sacrifice? And right on cue, our assessment was correct that Yudachi was still detecting us as some torpedoes come around the backside of that island there. However, we're not really concerned because we do have a Buffalo in the Bravo cap, and we are up almost 450 points. My thoughts in the moment were this. The Albemarle is pushing in, there is a radar cruiser in the Bravo cap, and the rune was low. If we kill this Albemarle, the game is essentially won. However, it does look like he is angling just a little bit. I also thought a radar cruiser could have been able to take care of this Yudachi. However, my assumption that my teammates were going to pull through was incorrect. When you are facing an agile-ish cruiser, you want to follow the strategy that I follow in this situation as we connect another lucky-ish Citadel. The RNG we missed out on broadsides, we finally reconnect with here. When someone is dodging like this Albemarle is, you want to single fire your guns. However, the Georgia is not the best example of this because you only have 6 guns, and somehow I actually flew a shot well over that. When you full salvo, they can dodge and then wait for your next salvo in order to dodge again. When you single fire, you are able to kind of force them to make a move, at which point you can fire your next gun and hopefully catch them. Again, as I mentioned though, the Georgia only has 6 guns, and as you can see, RNG, after that initial Citadel sort of left me, we do connect a penetration here. And why our Yagumo was open water gunboating a British heavy cruiser, I will never understand, but we try to get the elimination before he goes, but unfortunately, the British heavy cruiser is going to win that engagement 10 out of 10 times. We throw another salvo here. We try to throw it through the bow. Again, RNG trolls us. However, we do get the final hit there for our second elimination. So 140,000 damage, which is, a couple thousand above the high caliber mark. We've done 30% of the team's damage, gotten 2 eliminations, defended the cap, and it looks like our team is going to be kind of surefire a victory here. However, if you notice, our Haida, which is actually a player I've ran into before, he is pushing towards the enemy with about 2,000 health. And I actually want to give this guy a lot of credit. He said at the end, he's like, hey dude, I messed up. You can see that the Udachi spots him as we narrowly avoid some well-placed torps from the Albemarle. And that is also when you notice the rune is shooting at him as well. I was turning in to provide him a little bit of cover, trying to spread out angles. And that is when the rune gets the elimination. You can immediately see me shift my rudder towards the border as we are up over 400 points. If I simply run away, we win this game. Well, the next part of the video is what I want to call a massive failure and a learning experience for everyone, myself included. I am located, you can see here, and with how far away that rune was, I do not calculate what is going to happen next, and it was honestly a boneheaded play. I don't think it truly would have mattered because I believe this Udachi gets his speed boost back just at the right time, and I should have just beelined it for the absolute border of the map instead of trying to keep my guns on target for whatever reason. For those that were not with me on stream last night, you could probably see it in my face on the replay, but my attitude was a little apathetic towards the game. I wasn't showing much interest. As most of you probably already know, I have a full-time job as a hearing care professional, and I do operate my own small little personal training business as well as train myself. And in the few 2 to 3 hours of free time I get per night, I decide for some reason to play World of Warships Legends. So this next move was the completely wrong play, and me just trying to get, honestly, some good content. I throw out a salvo here, which gives up my concealment and lets the enemy know where I am. I was trying to get a cheeky blind fire defend ribbon, and that is when you notice that the cap actually goes back to almost near 0. And what that was the Udachi leaving this side of the cap to detect me. So that is when the rune, who I thought was a lot further away, opens up, and for some reason I decide to shoot again, kind of ignoring and forgetting that the rune has quarter pen and a pretty decent DPM, especially if he has a legendary modification. On top of that, trying to hit a cruiser which knows how to dodge, he has already shown that at 16.5 kilometers, is definitely not going to benefit me at all. So here is where Aaron basically throws this game. A massive mistake on my part. There's 70 seconds left on the clock. I thought I had enough health. I thought I had enough distance. I don't. This Udachi sets a smoke screen, and they honestly just outplay me in this situation. You will notice my score. I get first on the team, high caliber, a few kills, defend ribbons. But in this moment, I threw the game for my team. Could any one of my teammates done something better to win? Yes. However, I see far too often in this community a situation where players like myself in this particular instance have the option and ability to win, and they throw it away for some stupid reason. And that is exactly what I did in this game. Shout out to the Udachi for spotting, for coming after me, and as you can see now, I am actually concealed with my guns firing, and he was within my spotting distance. So letting them know where I am was a mistake. Shout out to the Rune who ended up with a Kraken, and I believe that's the guy on Facebook who always posts his Rune replays, but you can kind of just see it in my face. I didn't care, but it's still a massive mistake. And if you guys want to know the difference between, let's say, a 55 and 60% win rate and a 70 is not making those mistakes like that. So GG's to the enemy team for making all of the correct plays in which they needed to make in order to win. And GG's to our teammates. I made a boneheaded play in the last minute, and it resulted in our loss. Again, you can look at pretty much every other player on our team and say, well, if they would have performed, yes. But they put me in a position to win, and I made a stupid mistake in order to try and get a YouTube clip. But that's all she wrote for that one. You guys have a fantastic day, afternoon, evening, morning, whenever you're watching this video. Make sure to like. Love you guys. Hey, run out. Peace.